making sure that the clarity is there on that forefront. It's our review time. It's our annual performance reviews. So I've been working pretty heavy on getting those written. By the way, thanks for help on that with the AI side of things, because that was a lifesaver this year, taking my words and making them sound pretty decent.
What process have you created for yourself using it? Like, how are you doing it with AI?
So I went in there, just started the first time I've kind of really used the AI side of it. So I went in on the chat GTP and basically went through each individual segment that we have for our performance reviews. I put in kind of what I wanted, what touch points needed to be worked on, and then it helped create a professional summary that I could utilize and use, because writing is not my forte. English was not my subject, so my reviews were always a little bit on the poor side. So it definitely helped out with that, and it helps. It really did help get that content in there, and being able to share that and hold them more accountable with some of that content, I think will help, because that's our main focus next year is going to be sales calls and the quantity and quality of those sales calls to grow the business. I mean, that's where our major focus is going to be. Again, trying something different again is until we have a CRM tool, which we're kind of looking at, but go utilizing the Outlook calendars again for being able to have that clarity on who you've been talking to, with brief descriptions, and then trying to do some kind of an incentive plan based on just that alone, which we've never had before. So her and I are working through kind of some ideas on how to be able to incentivize for that and make sure that they understand this is the main focus, and here's something to help you get focused on that.
What kind of CRM are you guys looking at?
I believe right now they're kind of looking at the Ag.
Okay.
Yep, because it's got multi-functions with some other things that we need for contract signage, verbiage, that kind of stuff as well. But they have a CRM plus tool.
Yep.
And that's how I did it with my reviews. We haven't had a sit down yet with everybody. We're still getting, we had to finalize our goals that we're doing right now, and then we're going to get these reviews out. But it was more of the thought process of, this isn't to micromanage. This is to help, you guys keep track of what you need to do and who you need to see and what you need to do. I said, also, if we're looking at a new CRM platform tool, getting started in doing something will make that transition so much easier as well. And I think we need to utilize it as a tool and a way to make you guys get better than just as a check the box.
Yep.
Nobody needs more check the boxes.
Exactly.
Big time. Okay. Real quick. So I want to go to Denise, because Denise has worked inside a large organization for a long time. I can only imagine that you guys have been forced to use technology that you didn't want to use at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give us, what have you seen for best practices, or what have you seen done that I guess effectively got you or other people, or that maybe you've done, Denise, to get people to use technology, or something that they do a behavior that they didn't want to do, I guess, for that.
Yeah. So like right now we're actually rolling out a GeoTab fleet management system. And that's basically swiping on a reader when you take a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Could be within our maintenance department, airports. Actually, here in airports, with our aircraft, we use tow tractors. We use farm tractors to tow our aircraft. We looked outside the box versus a traditional tug that you might see out. So that in itself was a huge culture change, and a shock to a lot of people to see a farm tractor towing an aircraft. Right. So that
Color grease. Everybody's going to know what color.
What color? Green or red?
green.
I'm not saying which one's right or wrong.
Okay,
We're gonna ask.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so right now we've got this GeoTab fleet management system. It's a GPS system, basically, like I said, for all the vehicles. Initially, it was rolled out very small to be more environmentally friendly and for fuel savings and reduce our idling, particularly out on the ramp at the airports. Now it's being rolled out system-wide. So all maintenance vehicles, all airport vehicles, whether it's a van, a tow tractor, tug, but there's been resistance there because it's like, okay, I'm swiping onto a vehicle. Why do you want to know what I'm doing and where I'm going and everything? So it's been that type of, for some people, that type of culture. And how we got around that, and it wasn't even getting around it, but it came all down to communication. Some people thought it was just for their base only, and it was a select group of people, not realizing it was for the entire fleet and nationally. We then stood back and took in the questions to be able to create our communications, which is this is about accountability of where our fleet is. It's not about the individuals that are driving those vehicles, right? Our vehicles are stolen off the property, and it's about care and control of the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Really, when those communication pieces were sent out with great clarity, that's when we got, oh, okay. And also being able to look at a real life situation as well of when you rent a car, for example, you are accountable for these certain things, right? So using a real life situation, hearing what the questions are and being able to address them through that communication and clarity was the best thing for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wrote out another, communication as well this afternoon, for this afternoon to be submitted to our crew briefing that we have bi-weekly, and that's to the frontline employees.
Yeah. So what I just wrote down on my notebook, Denise, is clearly communicate the clear message.
Yes.
And I think having real life example to be able to bring to the table with that makes it easier for the understanding and the clarity to happen as well.
Yeah.
We kind of had that with we added dash cams to all of our semis. And, everybody was like, well, it's just Big Brother. They just want to track where we are, what we're doing. We had an accident, and then we were able to get out of the responsibility of an accident. And then that was clearly communicated. It was like, okay, well, kind of some change of attitudes. Maybe it isn't just to find out what we're doing, where we're at. It is maybe to help. So I think it's bringing some of those real life uses, how you want it to be used can really help that clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We and that's something that we included as well is the safety of the employee. We can be driving on the ramp at night. It's dark, it's raining, and there's a lot of glare out there on a ramp at an airport with a lot of lights and everything too, let alone if you're just going to do cargo run, for example. But Dustin, even you bring up another good point as well. When I do my lean training, lean is all about reducing waste in processes and non-value added tasks, and even trying to be able to convert those while putting into place some very small incremental changes each time. I never start off my team training with a PowerPoint or a process that we're already using. And what I start out with is I break the group out into teams and just pose the question, how long does it take you and what are the steps to do your grocery shopping? And then I have each of the teams present back, and then all the questions start happening. Well, when did you want us to start capturing the grocery shopping? It's like, you tell me. This is also about the team coming together on a standard point and knowing how to measure things accurately. Is it when I start creating my grocery list? Is it when I leave the house? Or is it when I enter the grocery store doors? That approach of taking a simple life task gets me the buy-in to then start applying it to the receiving of a part within our stores department because they see the waste.
That's good. I love the exercise. Experience before learning. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we call that. Exactly. That's great. Good stuff. Good additions, Denise. Right on.
Can I add something right there?
I would love for you to.
Okay, so Dustin, I worked at a co-op, and it was during COVID that we had a whole bunch of, obviously grain was falling, and people got in these contracts that they had to then deliver on, and they got upset about. And the CRM that we had at the time covered me because it showed that I was at the farm. I was having the conversations with the grower, even though the grower was telling all the upper management that that I was not there. And I was there with another coworker, so it wasn't just me.
Yep.
So the CRMs are like also just a cover your butt kind of thing when somebody gets disgruntled.
Yep.
Over
Absolutely.
something small.
So good. Melissa, I wanted you to address it too, if you would, from having been a co-op employee as a seller, as a grain originator in your case, whenever your company tried to implement something new, what worked, what didn't? For Dustin, and it was that here's this recording's benefit.
Yeah, I also would agree with Denise being upfront and all the communication. Like, the more communication that you can have as a group and don't let the conversation be driven by the sales team, have it come from the top down on like, hey, this is what we expect. We expect all of you to do it. And if they have any questions, answer the questions and tell them that they can ask any question. Because when you don't let them ask the questions, then they just make assumptions and then they don't want to do it and they get resentful for it. Pretty soon they're not using the CRM. And it's a very helpful tool if you use it correctly. And it helped me keep my sales in track and figuring out exactly where I was for the year because we also tracked our bushels, buying bushels in there. So it's kind of a wee bit of a competition, I would say, because you could see what your other coworkers were buying for the whole week. And I always wanted to be the first or the second person buying bushels. So I was always pushing myself to just buy the extra 5,000 bushels that week just to be in the lead. So there's that part too that you can make it like a little bit of a sales competition indirectly.
I love it. So good. Dustin, is any of this relevant and helpful for you?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think it's just trying to get it all put together and implement it and make sure that everybody has the clarity. We have the follow back. It's just that's the trick of getting it all put together and making it work. I did find also when we're rolling something out like that, it is good to have everybody together in a group as you're rolling it out as well, because then there's no misconsumptions or misinformation relayed differently to one versus the other. To it's here's what we're doing as a whole, as a group. This is the expectations for everybody. And then again, follow back up with what are the questions? What are we missing? I even like to go that route is, here's what we're bringing to the table. Do you guys see any holes in it or something we need to adjust? Try to get some more of that buy-in in it as well, because you got to have some of that or it's hard to get it up and running.
Yeah.
I would also add to that, Justin, is like, don't pick your busiest time and make everybody come in and you're frustrated because they're sitting there and you're telling them to use the CR app. I know there's never enough time like super busy, but coming in the fall, everybody's going every which direction. That's probably where you got to get the buy-in is like, you got to try to pick a day that's like maybe in November, December, January, where it's a wee bit slower so that you can get the most amount of people there at your meeting.
Agreed.
The other thing, probably last thing I would add as well, Dustin, just from my experience, when a lot of times when we're rolling out new processes, We can have the rollout, but just as important is what is the control plan or roll in of the data and the measurements at the end as well. So just as important as your rollout is, what is the tail end of auditing, or what controls are you putting in place to measure the success of your process?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that we're doing here, so we're rolling out a new product called Jericho, and we're pre-selling our customer advisory board seats right now to companies like Innovative Ag Services. I'd call with your team, with your leadership team on Monday to talk about that, plus a lot of other things too for you guys. But one part of the plan, starting the first week of September, will be a weekly email to anybody that's on our customer advisory board. And what I'm doing with that is just like, here's what we're doing. Here's what I'm learning as we're going. So we're learning from the system as we load people in. That's part of my roll out, I guess, and kind of roll in plan, to use Denise's language, because it's there to keep people up to speed. And like, hey, like this week we had whatever. I want to be able to say, hey, this week we input 100 job descriptions into Jericho. Right. This week we hit 500. Like, that's what I'm like kind of projecting that in my mind. Like, those are some of my benchmarks, right? We get the first 100, then we get to 500, then we get to 1,000. And, you can do the same thing with like number of customer conversations logged in the system, right? It's like, hey, this week we had 153 conversations logged as a team in the system, like, go team. The top documenter in the system this week was Dustin. He's kicking ass and taking names. You start to make an example and you put the emphasis on what you want to see. Right. And you only recognize publicly the results, the positive results. Okay. And then obviously behind, like, just with any good coaching, any constructive criticism, right? That's done one-to-one closed door situation on the phone whatever with those individuals. So that's good. Just best practice. Because, and then again, we always talk about experience before learning. There's always going to be some resistance, but if you force people, just like we force people into the workout on day one of Thriving Leader that they don't want to go to, but then afterwards, they're always glad they went. And so, or at least that's what they tell us. So we're glad they went. Our classroom always works better when we do that. Anyway, but you give them the experience that maybe they didn't think they needed or didn't want. And now it's like, we've got all this data, all this info, right? And it's like, man, we're learning, new benchmarks for customers, and we can actually do customer service better, and we're getting insights about our customers that we wouldn't have otherwise known, that make them look like heroes.
And the data that gets stored in there, nobody ever wants to lose an employee. It happens. So it's just having that background information is very helpful too when you're trying to bring somebody new on. Yep. Versus not having anything. Yep. I mean, that's what we've had for years, and it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Can I add another piece, Mark, too?
Yep.
So when I was at the co-op, it was fairly large co-op. So every division had like a leader when we moved to Salesforce, and they were like the person that learned Salesforce first. They were in the startup and kind of worked out the quirks, and they were the person that like I was the person for the green team. So then if the green team, like any of my coworkers had questions on Salesforce and they didn't feel comfortable going to somebody else, like our upper management, they could come to me and they could say, I don't understand this piece, or how do I do this right, or whatever. And then either I would find out the answer, or I knew the answer and help them through it. So you can make like a leader out of that person that's like doing a lot of logging. Just adds a little bit of buy-in.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Identify the champion, right? And then make an example out of them, and, not to the point where it's uncomfortable for them, but nobody wants to be the brown noser, but it is like, but people do like to be recognized. So last thing I was going to mention, also, John Anderson and I have been going through this book. I'm poring over this book right now. It's called The Science of Scaling, by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. a highly like 10 out of 10 recommend, even if you're not trying to scale a huge business or anything, like just understanding the first third of the book, which is around, setting the importance of really, really clear, big goals to help drive behavior, as well as understanding how to use time as a tool and leverage it to accomplish goals faster. But one of the things that we're pulling out of the book is the importance of a clear goal, and by the way, a really clear goal that's significant enough. Okay, so not just the book talks about the difference between linear goals, which is if it's a linear goal, you can kind of logically see how to get there, right? Whereas what he calls an impossible goal is something that's so big that you actually don't know how to do it yet, right? So there's different types of goals, but when we look at the clear goal, right? Well, what is the goal? The goal is a future state, right? It's somewhere out there in the future, and I don't have it yet. Okay, but from my current state, I can perceive what that goal would be, right? So let's just say we have 100% adoption of the CRM, and people love it. and then there's some clarity within that around like how many calls got logged and how many customers, lives got changed for the positive because we did a good job of documenting things and we're operating more efficient. Like you can get very, very clear, like really, really vivid. So there's a desired future state that we aim to get to. That's what a goal is, right? But what that clear goal does is it informs what I do today and what I don't do today. And I'll say that again because it's really important. It's been really important for me. That desired future state, that very, very clear goal, it informs what I do today and what I don't do today. And often it's what I don't do today that is more important, because a lot of what's keeping people from adopting new behaviors, technology, anything, being healthier, being happier, not grumbling at work, getting along with coworkers better, making more farm calls, which I know is a big thing for innovative ag. Right? What's distracting them from that? It's all the other stuff that doesn't actually serve the goal. And so due to the lack of clarity that people have, all other things are permissible and it gets in the way. And so my question becomes, my challenge for all of us, present party included, is what is the goal that's so big and so important, okay, that it drives the behaviors that dictate more farm calls, documenting those farm calls, operating like a professional salesperson, right? Because if it's just like, hey, this is going to help us do our job better, we're going to be able to document it better, like, I'll be honest, like, it'll be good, like it's going to be fine, but I have doubts, right? Or for any company, not just you guys, that it's earth-shattering, life-changing. Like what happens, like a year from now, 2 years from now, you can have adoption of a technology, but you're still going to be carrying all the other shit from the past. And we're still going to be frustrated because it's now like, now I'm making more sales calls and I'm documenting, plus I'm doing all the other stuff, but not all that other stuff serves who we're trying to become. And so that's where I'm more bought in than ever on clear. Like this is the thing. This is what we're after. If it's not serving that, then it no longer exists. I got three rejections yesterday, which is a pretty big day. I generally don't get 3 in a row, let alone 3 in one day. But what was interesting, I was telling John Henderson this earlier, each of the 3 wasn't a perfect match for the thing for us. There was some little customization or something I was going to have to do that would distract from who the momentum company has become, right? One was a custom project that was not perfectly aligned. One was somebody who just like, they're not willing to invest $25,000 in their business. And I'm like, okay, well then you're probably like, if you're not willing to invest $25,000 off this, and you've known me for 10 or 12 years and you know the value we can bring, probably not a fit, right? We're going to do a lot of $5,000 things anymore. And so like those two sort of self-eliminated, and the other one, we would have had to bend significantly on price. And it was another SRA company. I said, well, this one SRA company over here just invested $100,000 for the exact same thing, and you want me to do it for less. Then that's not going to fly. You guys talk. Like I can't do it if I do it for you and I got to go back to him and drop it by 25K, like that's going the wrong direction. So like, we just have to stand to it, and they're cool. Then we're going to wait until next year and see how things improve. I'm like, that's great. We're going to have, I heard yesterday that we're going to have 25% carryover in corn into 2026. So that doesn't sound, I don't anticipate this is getting better anytime soon. Right. But again, like you have to hold it. And so like, that's the floor. Those are the things that are pushing us toward our goal. And it made it like, I don't feel bad. I don't feel rejected, and I don't feel like I lost anything. In fact, I feel today, I was telling John, I feel clearer and closer to our goal because I didn't bend.
And Mark, I think that's the power of, and why we talk about clarity as a leading indicator for success, or really anything that we want in our life, is knowing what you want and why you want it and how to get it. Because if we're not crystal clear, right? Like if you're not crystal clear on like what the momentum company is becoming, like what are we transforming into, those 3 calls, like those 3 rejections hurt bad, right? And you don't sleep at night, right? And it sucks, but you're like, well, now that you have the clarity, you know exactly what the goal is. It's like, okay, no big deal, because it doesn't fit anyways. And that's the power of clarity right there that we talk about, is being so super clear of what we're trying to create, that we know exactly what we don't want as well. Not only what we do want, but don't want. And I know Christine always says contrast is clarity.
Yep.
Right. And it took me a while to kind of figure out what the heck that actually meant. But sometimes, like, knowing what we don't want helps us figure out what exactly we do want. Right. And vice versa. Knowing what we do want helps us know what we don't want. And then we can make better decisions. And then that ties into like priority and time management and all the things, because we're not just working for work's sake. We're actually like working towards that goal because we have ultimate clarity. So I just want to add that in too, because I think we're kind of talking about clarity on this call. We talked about it in the other SRA call, but it's all tying, like every one of our examples that we're talking about, from Dustin, your example with the CRM, to Melissa, yours, Denise, and Mark, everyone, we're all talking about the same thing of like getting super clear on what we're actually trying to create. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there so we know, like, hey, it's clarity, right? That's what we should be striving for not only for ourselves, but our team. Like Dustin, when you're working on the CRM deal, or like even your reviews, like how can we paint a picture that's so crystal clear that these folks, like, they just automatically buy in, right? Because they're crystal clear on what they're trying to create, why they're trying to create, like the importance, right? And then how to get it, how to do it, how to create it. So I love it. It's cool.
Good stuff, man. I like it. What would be super helpful for you if we were to do something with Innovative Ag and bring some training and coaching inside on a private level for you guys? What would you want?
For me specifically, just geared on the sales and the, kind of like what we've talked, the clarities, the understandings, the holding accountabilities. That piece for the sales team is very important for my role, in particular.
The accountability aspect.
Yes, the accountability, and we've talked about it before too, is the drives and figuring out what we can do to tailor to each salesperson and what motivates them to build that drive back up, because you got a wide range of sales team. Because those are a couple things on top of my mind that would come to forefront.
Cool. Great stuff. Thank you for that.